Hey guys, Mike here. So today, I'm here to talk to you about 2014's Edge of Tomorrow, starring Tom Cruise as William Cage and Emily Blunt as Rita Fataschi. In Edge of Tomorrow, a soldier who was put on the front lines of a battle against an alien enemy is forced to relive the same day over and over again every time he dies. And so we have Edge of Tomorrow. So guys, today's review was requested by no one. This one I just wanted to watch because I really like this film, and I decided recently to make another mashup trailer, which I haven't done in about 2 years. And so I could actually make this trailer, I decided to watch the film again so I could pick out scenes for the trailer. And as well, I thought I've watched the movie, so I might as well do a review for it. So, what did I think of Edge of Tomorrow? Well, I remember first watching this film and absolutely loving it. And pretty much every time I've watched this movie since, I still really like it. Tom Cruise is up to his usual standard of just brilliant action star. I don't know how Tom Cruise does it. He always seems to be consistent in making great action movies, and Edge of Tomorrow is no exception. I wouldn't say that his character in this is the most layered of characters. I don't think you can necessarily do an in-depth character study of him. I would say that this character is more changed by the circumstances around him as opposed to an internal conflict or anything like that. Basically, Edge of Tomorrow is definitely more plot-driven as opposed to character-driven. That's not to say there's no character development whatsoever, because this character obviously does go through some massive changes throughout the story. Though I would say it's more the circumstances that he's in as opposed to him wanting to change himself. He's basically put into a no-win scenario, and now he has to try and overcome it in any way he can. And as well, Emily Blunt in this film, she is fantastic. Despite this being her first real action movie, she just fits in brilliantly. And one of the things I really like about a character is the fact that she's basically Tom Cruise's character before he even becomes who he is in this movie. And though you don't really get to see her that much before she becomes this angel of death, this awesome soldier, you get this idea that, like Cage, she probably wasn't really the most remarkable of soldiers. But because of the fact that she had to live the day over and over again, she was allowed to become a better soldier. And obviously, if you've been through the same battle a million times, or maybe even more than a million times, you're going to know every single step, enemy pattern, so you know how to actually get around them and think like they do. And obviously, Tom Cruise's character doesn't really become who he is by himself. It's because of the training that Rita Fataschi gives him. So it kind of begs the question, who really trained her? Or did anyone train her? Maybe she just completely trained herself all along. I always thought it'd be kind of interesting to see a bit of a prequel to Edge of Tomorrow, where you get to see Emily Blunt's character become the person who she is. Though even though I do want that, I do feel that it would probably basically be a copy and paste of this film. Nevertheless though, still think it'd be interesting. But obviously one of the probably biggest criticisms that you could give to this film, even though I still think it's, obviously one of the best parts about the film, is the fact that the premise itself isn't really all that original. It's pretty much Groundhog Day with aliens. Now, I haven't done that much research into this. I don't even know if Groundhog Day is the original form of this story. There are probably stories from maybe a couple of years before Groundhog Day which did this premise. But realistically, Groundhog Day is the most famous of this kind of living the same day formula. And though I haven't really seen that many films with this premise, the only ones I've really seen are Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrow, and Happy Death Day. I'm pretty sure there are other movies out there which have done this premise. But I wouldn't really say that any one of them is the best at it. I'll probably give Groundhog Day an edge because, it is a classic. But realistically, I would say that each one of those movies puts its own personal spin on it and manages to make itself feel unique, whilst at the same time seemingly using the same premise. But again, going back to Edge of Tomorrow, what I really like about it using this premise is the fact that it never makes you feel like you're lost within the story. Because towards the start of the film, you basically know every time that he dies and resets the day. You get to see the first 3, maybe 4 of them. Then after a while, it's implied that he's lived this day before. Because when he makes the first proper contact with Rita Fataschi, he's killing aliens that he isn't basically looking at, and he knows where everything's going to be. So already at that point, it's implied that he's lived this day at least more than 4 times. And though it's not really clear how many times he's actually lived this day, it doesn't really become a problem. You never get lost. You always know where they are in the story. And then when it's revealed that he's already lived this section of the day before, it doesn't really feel jarring. If anything, in certain story points, it's a nice surprise and it kind of takes you off guard. In lesser talent's hands, this story could have been completely muddled and very confusing. But with a brilliant team behind this story, they managed to make everything very understandable and very focused. And as well, the action in this film, the action is phenomenal. I wouldn't say that it's completely clear-cut. There are probably one or two scenes which are a bit shaky cam or a bit too zoomed in that you can't really see. But for the most part, the action is awesome. You can see most everything that's going on. The CGI within the scene looks really good. And the practical effects that are used fit seamlessly into the action as well. To the point where you can hardly tell sometimes what's real and what's CGI. To be honest though, I really kind of wished that they'd spent a bit more time with J-Squad. I'm not really saying, you know, all that much time, but just maybe a little bit more that we could actually get to know these people, so they could just be a little bit more than just their, you know, one-dimensional stereotypes that they kind of are. Having said that though, isn't something that ruins the story. It's just something else I thought that would have been, you know, kind of nice to see. Overall, guys, Edge of Tomorrow is a fantastic action movie. Brilliant story, great characters, very understandable and focused plot, which you never feel lost in. Great CGI, all round very entertaining film. But do I think you guys should watch this one? Absolutely. This is one of my favourite Tom Cruise movies, and if you haven't already seen Edge of Tomorrow, then do yourselves a favour and give this one a watch. I just hope that someday that they revisit this universe and do a sequel to this movie. I have no idea what they would do for it, but I would just be really excited to see what this team would do next. Okay guys, that's my review of Edge of Tomorrow. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think I should watch next? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!